Constitution of Albania. Albania. The present Constitution of Albania, Albanian, Kushtetuta e Shqipërisë, was adopted by the Parliament of Albania on 21 October 1998. It is split up over many different acts. The document succeeded the 1976 Constitution, originally adopted at the creation of the People's Socialist Republic of Albania on 28 December 1976, and heavily amended on 29 April 1991. The present Constitution defines Albania as a unitary parliamentary constitutional republic. It has a unicameral legislature composed of 140 members who elect the president as the head of state, the cabinet, which consists of the prime minister as the head of government, deputy prime minister, and all other ministers. The Constitution is divided into 18 parts which sanction a parliamentary democracy, people's sovereignty, and fundamental rights of the citizens, as well as other important points. The Constitution is said to have fulfilled all the requirements for a modern European constitution. Due to political instability, Albania has had many constitutions during its history. The nation was initially constituted as a monarchy in 1913, briefly a republic in the 1920s, then it returned to a democratic monarchy in 1928. It later became a socialist republic until the restoration of capitalism and democracy in the 1990s. History. Medieval period. Albanians have an old tradition for law and regulations. Among the old laws is the Kanunia Duke, a sort of constitution respected by majority of Albanians throughout centuries. The Canon of Duke, which according to some writings was codified in the 14th century, is distinguished among several canons. The canon has provided some level of self-government for the Albanians under foreign rule, and thereby democracy has been exercised. According to the canon, important decisions are made by conventions of the elderly. Modern period. During the national renaissance of the 19th century, Albanians founded the League of Prizren, and in the meantime a provisional government for the Albanian-speaking territories of the Ottoman Empire. The new canon was adopted as a program and statute for the governing bodies. This is often regarded as the beginning of the modern Albanian politics and diplomacy. In 1913, Albania was recognized as an independent country, yet the European powers decided for a constitutional monarchy headed by a European monarch, William of Albania. The constitution adopted for this period did not have much effect, partially due to the rebellions against the foreign king and partially due to World War I. The 1913 borders arranged by European powers left more than half of the Albanian-speaking territories outside Albania's borders. However, right after the First World War, the nation was in danger of being repartitioned between other countries. In opposition to this, the Albanian leaders held Congress of Kushtetuta, which they decided to defend the sovereignty of their country and fight against any foreign invasions. An interim constitution, officially known as statute, sanctioning the monarchy was also passed. During the 1920s, Albania experienced political instability and rapid succession of governments. In 1924, a revolutionary group took over by force, while 6 months later Ahmet Zogu crushed the revolution. In 1925, an Albanian republic was declared under a constitution based on the French model of the Third Republic. The republic had a bicameral legislature, Chamber of Deputies, and Senate that elected a president, who was head of state and of government council of ministers for a 7-year term. The president was vested with fairly broad, almost dictatorial powers, including the power to appoint 1/3 of the Senate and rule by decree. 3 years later, in 1928, Albania was proclaimed a kingdom, and President Zogu became King Zogu. The legislative organ consisted of one chamber, while the executive power belonged to the head of state, the king, and the cabinet composed of the prime minister and other ministers. In practice, however, Zog retained the same dictatorial powers he'd held as president, and the country was still essentially a military dictatorship. With the Italian fascists invading Albania in 1939, this constitution was abolished. Fascist collaborators in Albania offered the throne to Victor Emmanuel Roman III, King of Italy, an act that heavily violated the constitution of the Albanian kingdom. The Quisling government established by the Italians passed a new constitution in 1939. Communist period. After the liberation of Albania from Nazi occupation, the Communists established the Democratic Government of Albania. On 11 January 1946, the Constitution of the People's Republic of Albania was promulgated, to which amendments were adopted in 1950. It was later replaced on 28 December 1976 by the Constitution of the People's Socialist Republic of Albania. The 1976 Constitution defined Albania as a socialist people's republic art. 1. And a state of the proletarian dictatorship art. 2. And in a similar manner to its predecessor entrenched the rule of the Party of Labour of Albania as the leading force in the Albanian society and the vanguard of the working class art. 3. In socialist concepts, the Constitution guaranteed basic human rights and privileges to the citizen, such as tax exemption. 1976 Constitution art. State organs. The People's Assembly as the legislative organ, the Presidium of the People's Assembly as a de facto collegial head of state, and the Council of Ministers as the executive branch were described to function in a similar way as in a parliamentary democracy. However, the actions of these organs were subject to the guidance and decisions of the Labour Party, while its organization was not defined by the Constitution. The first secretary of the party was commander-in-chief of the armed forces and chairman of the Defense Council art. 89. Present day. The 1976 Constitution remained in effect until September 5, 1991, and a temporary basic law was passed to legalize a pluralist system and re-establish a capitalist economy in Albania. Based on this document, which defined Albania as a parliamentary republic, the new constitution was drafted in 1998. Many drafts, such as the one proposed in 1994, failed to be ratified. The current constitution was ratified by a popular referendum in 1998. Contents. List of constitutions. Institutions. References.